Hey guys, Sober Oni here with another Servant Spotlight, this time for Saber Alter. In this video we're going to take a look at her stats, skills, and deck, as well as tips on how to use her effectively, and an overall grade on how well she stacks up compared to the other 4-star Servants. But before we get into that, just want to let you guys know that with Okeanis and Kentucky being announced over the weekend, you can look forward to a ton of content from this channel in the coming weeks. Expect spotlights for all the Okeanis Servants, as well as an Okeanis guide, and a few surprise events and videos, so keep an eye out for that. Alright, now let's move on to the much anticipated Saber Alter Spotlight. When it comes to her stats, Saber Alter has a modest max HP at 11,589, which is about the average among 4-star Sabers, and it's slightly above the average across all 4-star Servants. But her most impressive stat is actually her attack. It's a whopping 10,248. That attack not only puts her at the top of the list among 4-star Sabers, but near the top of all 4 stars in general, and she's pretty much in the same league as berserkers like Herc and Lancelot. As for her skills, she has Mana Burst rank A, which increases Buster card effectiveness for 1 turn, between 30% and 50%. She has Intuition rank B, which grants between 4 and 14 crit stars, and Charisma rank E, which increases the attack of all allies between 6 to 12%. For her passive, all she has is Mana Resistance B, which increases debuff resist by 17.5%. And moving on to her deck and Noble Phantasm, she has the standard all-rounder quick Arts Buster deck, similar to 5-star Saber. And her Noble Phantasm is Excalibur Morgan. It's a buster that deals heavy damage to all enemies and increases her Noble Phantasm gauge. Again, pretty much very similar to the 5-star Saber. So if you feel like you have deja vu after that last segment, it isn't just you. Saber Alter is, for all intents and purposes, a carbon copy of Saber. Alter is pretty much Ken to Saber's Ryu. And that makes sense given that they are the same person. However, that's only on the surface. If you dig a little deeper, there's actually some distinct differences that do a good job of reflecting the lore of the series. Saber Alter is not just a weaker Arturia, despite what the attack stat may indicate. While Alter has a vastly inferior charisma skill, the secret to her power lies in her Noble Phantasm, which is the same as Arturia's, except the numbers are slightly different. If you pay attention, you'll notice Alter has less of an overcharge effect on her Noble Phantasm, but in return, she has a 50% higher attack modifier on Excalibur Morgan as opposed to post-interlude Arturia. So even after Arturia gets her Noble Phantasm buffed, it's still 50% weaker than Alter's. And before that interlude, Saber's Noble Phantasm is actually 150% weaker than Excalibur Morgan. Meaning at this stage in the game, Alter's Noble Phantasm utterly outdamages Arturia's by a large margin and always will. Arturia's slightly stronger charisma and 1000 extra attack don't make up for that huge bonus modifier, which essentially amounts to a second mana burst or 3 extra mana bursts when compared to pre-interlude Saber. All that to say that Alter is actually a much stronger burst damage dealer than her 5-star counterpart, and she can wave clear much better because of it. In that regard, she is much more offensive minded than Saber, not just a carbon copy. She's a Saber that sacrifices utility for raw damage, and that's the key word, utility. As a raw damage dealing attacker, Alter is fantastic. I'd even compare her to some of the lower attack 5-stars. But what she gives up in return and what limits her is that utility that 5-star Saber has. Excalibur Morgan is stronger than regular Excalibur, and it's one of the strongest AoE attacks in the game, but the lower Noble Phantasm gain on the overcharge makes it not as spammable. In addition, Alter's Instinct is slightly worse than Saber's, and it still remains one of the worst skills in the game, and even Alter's Charisma is much weaker than regular Sabers. In fact, Charisma rank E is the lowest rank possible in the game, to the point where it's almost not even worth leveling it because the scaling in the buff is just so bad. But at least Alter's Mana Burst is as good as Saber's. So for that reason, you're always going to want to max Mana Burst first, followed by charisma, and then intuition. Saber Alter isn't as much of an all-rounder as regular Saber. Instead of being the support tank on the team, she's much more at home being the main attacker. So you should surround her with servants that can buff her and support her. So again, Waver, Shakespeare, and Hans are especially good at this as always. Saber isn't as fragile as Berserkers, but her HP isn't that high. She won't be able to tank a ton of hits like regular Saber can, so you might want to put her with either Ruler, Mosh, or Martha. That can help keep her alive a bit longer. Or you can do what I do and just go full assault mode and pair her with either Gil or Saber or Terra or Caesar and really go to town. She really appreciates all the buffs that they can give. Just realize that you'll be lacking in defense, so plan accordingly. As for craft essences, you have 3 real choices. You can go with Kaleidoscope, Heaven's Feel, or Limited Zero, and of course all their lower rarity counterparts. Kaleidoscope works best if you're using her for farming so you can clear faster. Heaven's Feel is my personal favorite since it plays to her strength, and her Noble Phantasm gain isn't so bad that you'll have any difficulty getting her from 0 to 100 if you have enough time. And conversely, you can go with Limited Zero if you favor more consistent damage instead of just high burst damage on your Noble Phantasm. Overall, Alter is easily one of the best 4 stars in the game. She isn't a hit sponge and she lacks utility like 5-star Saber, but she makes up for that in just raw damage. Not many 4 stars can boast about having damage equal to the lower attack 5-star servants outside of the Berserkers, so that's saying something. She is a very one-dimensional servant, but that one dimension is pretty strong, and it's a shame her other 2 skills aren't as strong as her Mana Burst. Otherwise, I could see her easily giving even Herc a run for his money as one of the better 4 stars. But for now, she gets an A-. She is top tier for sure, and if you do not have a 5-star Saber, this is literally the next best thing, but she just needs a little more out of her intuition and her charisma to reach that great plateau. Alright guys, that's my analysis of Saber Alter. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm curious to know what you guys think of Alter, and if you even managed to roll her, because I know she's crazy rare for some reason. But if you are planning on rolling her, good news is she is available in the Kentucky Gacha right now. She's on a rate up, I believe. So by all means, if you need a Saber, I recommend going for it. And if you haven't already, please join us on the G&A After Dark weekend streams. We all have a ton of fun just chilling, playing Fate Grand Order, and just chatting about the most random stuff. It's a ton of fun. If you guys liked the video, let me know with a thumbs up. And if you really liked it, I recommend you subscribe for even more Servant Spotlights and Fate Grand Order content. And that's all I've got for now, so I'll see you guys next time. So Roni out. Peace.